Northern Brewery takes you where homebrewing and craft brewing meet. From pro breweries to home breweries, we live and breathe beer. Craft beer celebrities, homebrew luminaries, brew sessions, and most important of all, lots of great beer. You are watching Brewing TV.
Sometimes you just want to go to a place where everybody knows your name.
Sometimes you just want to go to a place and play a game of shuffleboard.
Sometimes you want to go to a place where you can get an old ale and a double IPA on hand pump.
Sometimes you want to go to a place where you can get some brewing supplies, then go into a tap room and get a pint of beer.
Sometimes you want to go to a place that embodies the connectedness and community of a beer scene.
Sometimes you just want to be in Aurora, Colorado.
Fortunately for us, there's Dry Dock Brewing Company to meet all those needs.
We're in that place right now, Dry Dock Brewing Company, Aurora, Colorado.
You are here with us to visit Dry Dock, try their beers, help out on a triple brew day, do a little critical beatdown head-to-head, Pro Series kit versus actual beer.
So, join us citizens as we explore Dry Dock Brewing Company, all for brew.
And watch Jake Keeler get his butt handed to him at Shuffleboard, Brew for All. No, you good, please.
Oh.
All right. Weak.
Playing it safe, man.
Weak.
Playing it safe, you know.
Weak. Does safe mean going all the way off the board?
Oh!
Sitting here over ESBs with Kevin DeLang of Dry Dock Brewing. Cheers, Kevin. Thanks for having us out.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
This is my first time here, and based on my understanding of geography, Colorado is a landlocked state, but you guys have a real nautical theme going on here.
We did when we first decided to open up the brewery in about 2004. We started trying to think of themes or names for the brewery, and I've always loved nautical stuff, even though I grew up in northern Iowa and then moved to Colorado. I have a history degree and always enjoyed nautical history. And I had a partner way back then for the first year, and he came up with the name, and it kind of fit. It gives us ideas for names for the beers and decoration for the place, and so we kind of ran with it. 2004 is when we first started planning to open. I think we finally got open October 2005. So I actually started with a homebrew shop in 2002. There was a shop that had been around for 8 or 9 years, and the founder was ready to move on to his other passion, which was motorcycles. It was still doing well at the time. He just wanted to move over, and I was sick of working for other people. So, wife was nice enough to let us take out a home equity loan to buy the homebrew shop. So.
Awesome. Were you a home brewer at the time?
Yep. I started homebrewing when I was 21 in Iowa, doing mail order, and I hadn't brewed a ton, maybe 4 or 5 times a year. And then when the shop was available, it worked out perfect. Next to the homebrew shop originally, there was this 800 square foot space that became available. And I had already had all the contacts with all the suppliers and vendors, and there were so many breweries in Colorado already, and I had friends that were working in the brewing industry, and so it seemed like I could make the leap. So when we opened in 2005, it worked out great because Colorado is one of the few states that the regulatory environment allows you to have a tasting room and serve beer for consumption on premises. And so if you get a manufacturing license that's primarily designed to package, you can also sell it at the tasting room. And so we did that. We were only in 3 tap accounts in bars around close to us in Aurora, and then the rest of our beer we just sold for consumption at the brewery. So we got this really simple 7-barrel system when we first started out. The mash tun was a Grundy tank with the top cut off and a homemade stainless steel false bottom. And
awesome.
We were just dumping in, mixing it with a mash paddle. It was just like home brewing, except making 200 gallons at a time. Our fermenters weren't even glycol controlled. We built a separate room outside the cellar with its own thermostat. And so well, while the beer was fermenting, I would set that thermostat, but if you closed the door, it would get residual cooling from the main area of the cellar. So I'd have to get up in the middle of the night, literally, and swing into the brewery at 3 in the morning to check the fermentation temperature and open that door to just the right amount to control the fermentation temperature. But it worked. We were able to make a go of it right off the bat. So.
And word must have gotten out that the beer was really good because you guys have been growing and expanding ever since, right?
It did. We got super lucky. April of 2006, actually, with the ESB at the World Beer Cup, we got a gold medal with the ESB right out of the gate. And so that helped put us on the map for sure. We started to get a lot of great publicity because we were tiny. And after winning that award, people started to look for us. And then in 2009 is when the floodgates kind of opened. We moved into this new facility, got a lot fancier equipment, had a lot more controls, not only with the fermentation process, actually having fermentation controls, but in the brewing process too. We can do step mashing and decoctions. And then in 2009, we won 4 medals at GABF and got Small Brewing Company of the Year. And we've been lucky ever since then too. We got another 3 or 4 in 2010 and 11. The one difficult thing we've had with only having a 7-barrel system is now that we've gotten busy, trying to do 3,000 barrels a year in a 7-barrel system has been a lot more of a challenge. When we first moved into the space, we thought it was luxurious. We had all this room to grow,
right.
And then kept having to put new 20-barrel fermenters in there. And so our labor costs are a little excessive. We have 3 full-time brewers probably working 50 hours a week, and 2 part-timers helping out in the evenings and weekends. And so they're brewing anywhere 10 to 14 times a week. When I was really on them to get the fermenters full, because we were lagging behind, they had 15 brews in 5 days, and so they were coming in at 6 a.m. and finishing at 3 a.m. The next day, and so the place would only be shut down for 3 hours. But when they proved to me that when they did that, we got the fermenters full pretty quick, and so they've been able to back off a little bit. It works out really well the way they do their schedule. They're ready to mash in as soon as they whirlpool the previous batch, and almost always doing double days, so 2 brews a day. So it works out pretty well. We've got 3 young brewers in there. Ashley, one of the few female brewers, but there's more and more of them. She's doing a great job. And then our new brewmaster, Doug and Brett. Doug was spent some time at Green Flash and Rock Bottom and Ska, and we were lucky enough to get him back. He actually grew up in Aurora, worked at the homebrew shop for me for a little while part-time while he was going to brewing school, and then went out for 5 or 6 years and got him back. So it was kind of neat to
That's a cool
get him
story.
come back. Yeah. He was bagging hops back in the day, so now he's running the show for us.
Doug, tell us what you do here at Dry Dock.
Just actually became the head brewer here.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
So it's mostly just managing the brewery schedule,
Yeah.
and inventory and all that, but also chipping in on the brewing side too.
And you guys brew a wide variety of beers.
We do. We've got our home fleet, and then we always try to have something new, something interesting.
Today you were working on a Belgian triple,
Yep.
and that's a seasonal?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. That's one of those beers we've got. I think we've got 4 seasonals, so it's time of the year for the triple. I don't know, it's really been interesting, the transition of Dry Dock, because Kevin really came in, and Kevin's an amazing entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And he really kind of laid a really nice foundation. Bill came in, Bill our previous head brewer, and he's really a phenomenal brewer. I think he's one of the best brewers I've ever worked for, and he laid his own little layer down, and I feel like there's definitely a little bit of area for me to kind of put my own spin on it. Mm-hmm. But then I think it would just be foolish for me to go, I'm changing this, changing this.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of one of those if it ain't broke, don't fix it type deals. And now we're really hitting a mass production phase. And so there's, trying to balance that, but also, stepping up our barrel program. I think our Hefeweizen is one of the best in the United States. Mm-hmm. And the Apricot's got such a wild following. It's just like trying to keep that consistent and keep that going, but then also trying to grow. I mean, all the great breweries out there are really, they're good here, and then they push the limits. And then once they push limits here, they push the limits up here. And then you just keep pushing it higher and higher.
I got one last question.
Yeah.
Does the beard make better beer?
Yes, it does. I've always said, I don't really necessarily trust brewers without long hair or facial hair? Like when I see a brewer with short hair and no facial hair, I'm just like, really? You a brewer? Because it's kind of, it's exactly,
Busted.
exactly. It's just, yeah. It's one of those things where you have the opportunity. As a brewer, you can totally do it. And people are like, oh yeah, that guy's a brewer. It makes sense. So.
Well, those are good words to live by.
Yeah.
Cheers, Doug.
Cheers.
Do you still have a cult following? Is it just a bigger cult, or?
It's a little of
more
both.
people-
Now that we've started to get a better reputation or a bigger reputation, we have the locals who have been coming since we were in the tiny space. And then we have a lot more locals who have found us since then. And now we get lots of beer tourists. Lots of people come to Colorado to visit lots of breweries, especially around GABF week. And so we get lots of beer tourists, and then we also get people from the entire Front Range area in Colorado that make it a point to visit as many breweries as they can. And the homebrew shop still helps a ton. So when we first opened the brewery, we were kind of double dipping our homebrew customers because nobody knew about us. And so they would come in, buy their ingredients to brew at home, and then they'd come over, get a growler, or have a couple pints, or grab one while they're shopping. And so that helped a bunch at the beginning. So at first we were taking our homebrew customers and selling them beer. The exciting thing to see happen over the last few years is taking craft beer lovers and turning them into homebrewers, because they'll come in and start talking to somebody who might be a homebrewer next to them, or they'll see the shop and decide to start making beer on their own as well. So now it definitely goes both ways.
Welcome to the critical beatdown portion of Brewing TV. We've got a couple of the Pro Series recipe kits from Dry Dock, brewed by yours truly, back home in sweet, sweet Roseville, Minnesota. Transported, I won't say how they got here, to protect the innocent. Transported to Aurora, tasting side by side with the real deal.
I am surprised how close they are. I just want to start with let's do the pale first.
Okay.
Recipe is exactly the same, obviously. They're both dry hopped, and it's interesting when you sent these over. You sent one that was dry hopped for 3 days, and one that was dry hopped for 7 days.
Right.
And the 7-day one, it was amazing how much more grassy the hop character came out of it. And so I was thrilled to see that you sent the 3-day dry hop one.
Well, the initial feedback on our first test brew of that kit was to tone down the dry hops. So that's why for the rebrew we split it into 2 separate batches that got the dry hop treatment for different lengths of time. And you prefer the 3-day.
The 3-day, yeah, I think it matches ours a lot better for sure. The hops are still vibrant, it still comes out in the aroma, but you don't get that grassy, almost kind of viney vegetal. Sometimes when the hops are in there too long, they start to, you can taste that biomass a little bit. And so, and you get a lot in fresh hop ales, and it's not unpleasant by any means, but doing the 3-day dry hop, I thought made it a lot closer. Super interesting for me because I'd never done that before. Tasted the exact same beer that's been dry hopped for different lengths of time. So
I should mention that I did have a rebrew of the SS Minnow Mild kit, but my thirsty coworkers poached that keg entirely. The Breakwater was at great risk of being gone thanks to the efforts of one high-maintenance videographer. But yeah, I did manage to save enough bottles to send you, Kevin. All right, that passes muster. Should we try the Paragon Apricot Blonde?
This is the one that we brewed at Dry Dock. This is the one that you guys brewed in Minnesota. I'm a big fan of using fruit and flavoring. If you just use fruit after the fermentation, it's very dry. Most of that fruit flavor ferments out. It's thin, there's just not a lot there. If you just use flavoring, it's artificial tasting. It's like candies. Flavorings are great, but I think when you do both, you get the rich texture of real fruit behind it, and you get the wonderful aroma that you're able to capture still with the flavoring.
They complement and enhance each other.
Yeah.
That apricot quality has so much in common, I think, with a lot of the newer hop varieties that you commonly find in IPAs, with that really rich but kind of tart tropical fruit character.
Yeah.
And so I find a lot of simpatico between the apricot and something like Citra or Australian Galaxy.
I would have to say, I hesitate to say this, but I think yours is a little better. it's got more tartness, and I think when we do the recipe, the fruit's a little bit different, and I think the way it's packaged, and you might have a little bit more. It might be a touch drier, but I like yours is definitely a little more tart, and I think I prefer that because it cuts through some of the sweetness of the flavoring, I think.
Well, awesome. Kevin, thank you so much for sharing these recipes.
Absolutely, it's fun for us, especially being attached to a homebrew shop and having homebrew roots. It's super exciting for us to have you guys make the kits and get them all over the country instead of just in Denver. So
well, it's
great.
you know, it's a good way for you to experience Dry Dock's beers without the cost of a plane ticket. Although you should totally buy a plane ticket and come here. What's coming down the road for Dry Dock? What do you guys have?
We're just starting to look at doing a production facility.
Okay.
Over the past couple of years, especially after we won Small Brewing Company of the Year, we've had lots of distributors contact us. And so we've been saving our pennies the last couple of years. Everything's been going great. And so we're looking at properties now and hoping to get maybe a 25,000 square foot facility and 40 barrel brew house. Probably in the next year. It'll take that long. If we get a building in the next 2 or 3 months and then get the equipment engineered and shipped over and put up, it'll probably be the end of this year or the beginning of 2013.
Okay. What's going to happen to this tasting?
It's going to stay just like it is. Yeah.
Awesome.
The build out was pretty expensive over the years to get the tasting room just like we liked, and we really like this system. Even though it's only 7 barrels, it is pretty tricked out for a little system. So, and the homebrew shop's been here for 13 years now, and so we're going to keep this like it is, do some test batches and some small fun stuff here, probably continue to do a lot of the sour beers here.
Kevin, thanks again for having us out here.
Appreciate
Awesome
it.
beer, awesome facility.
Thanks so much for coming.
My pleasure. This is a place to check out if you are ever in Aurora. I'm your host, Michael Dawson, for Jake Keeler on assignment over there at the bar. Until next time, all for brew.
And brew for all.
Cheers. Thanks again, Kevin.
On the next episode of Brewing TV, we're stuck in Denver, Colorado. The day after visiting Dry Dock, we were supposed to drive to Boulder to shoot an episode, but 20 inches of snow brought that plan to a halt. You know how we roll. We made the best out of being stuck in a great beer city. Join us for pints at Denver Beer Company, Great Divide Brewing Company, and we hit up our first distillery, Stranahan's Colorado Whiskey. In BTV 57, Snow Day in Denver. Episode post online March 9th.
For the record, I did have a beer. I used to have a beard down here.
Really?
But yeah, that can be verified. There's video of that.
In the vortex of your starter, you shall find yeast.
My wife was not having it. She
Oh,
was
really?
Yeah, she's super anti-beard, man.
My girl's like, if you cut that, I'm breaking up with you. So.
Oh, dude, what the? Found yourself a good woman.
I know, right?
Seriously.
In the vortex of your starter, you shall find yeast.